Welcome to another episode of Everybody's Got Something with Seth Hoffman. Our guests today are artist, author Gordon Rogowitz and bass legend Donny Tesso. Let's get into it. Let's have a good time. Here we are. Gordon, thank you so much for being on the show and letting us have a chance to get to know you and hear about your life's works and travels. So how are you doing on this chilly New Mexico day today?
Oh, nice. I woke up with rain and little bits of snow falling.
I saw that. I had that smell last night, like snow was in the air.
Yeah, seasons are changing.
They are changing and they are here. So I had a chance to visit your space and really get a better sense of all the things you do. We're going to be talking about your books. We're going to be talking about your art. I wonder if we could just start off with a little story about your journey of how you came into writing, how you came into sculpting, how you came to Albuquerque.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess I've kind of always been a daydreamer.
Yeah.
Even from as a little kid. I didn't buckle down in school, but and at night I would see patterns on the walls. And
Is that right?
Yeah, it's so that kind of feeling that the world was full of images, and I wasn't much of a student, but
and that's interesting because from what I know, the amount that you know how to do and all the things you know, I take it you didn't all learn this from your early days in school?
Well, yeah, I wanted to be a guitar player when I was a kid, and I would sit on my bed playing guitars for hours, kind of like a musical meditation, something like that.
Was that was your first art form, if you will?
I guess so, yeah. And guitar was my first love, I guess. But my folks didn't want me to go into music. They were afraid I'd get in with the wrong crowd of people.
Oh yes.
And so I ended up getting in with the wrong crowd of people anyway. I think the strange people or the weird people are some of the more interesting people.
You strange ones out there, thank you for what you've done with our friend here.
Right. So they ended up encouraged me to go to school for biology, and I wasn't a particularly good student. I went to Boston University, but at some point I had a teacher that inspired me, and instead of getting B's and C's, I started to get all A's.
Wow.
And then I went
And
through.
so you said that had a lot to do with a teacher that inspired you?
One teacher.
So just out of
particular.
curiosity, what does anything come to your mind specifically that inspired you about him, or something he said or she?
Well, his name was Arthur Ectornott, and it was at Boston University. He didn't get tenure, actually, because he wasn't that productive in research.
Okay.
But he was very productive as a teacher, and he just, I think he just cared, and he presented things in a way that made things exciting and passion-filled teaching.
So teachers out there, if you care about your students,
One
find a
teacher
way to
can make a
connect.
big difference, and I
Incredible,
ended
incredible.
up becoming a professor myself.
Incredible.
Went on and got a master's and a PhD, and then a postdoctoral fellowship, and then I taught at the University of Puerto Rico for 10 years, ecology and evolution, physiological ecology, mammalogy.
And this is someone who was not a very good student, you said, as a kid. So
right.
incredible.
And and then I did research as well. I published 2 papers, or 2 or 3 papers a year on mammals, reptiles, amphibians. So that was me. Number of years ago. That was kind of like my first life.
Okay.
And,
So your life is definitely a life of chapters. So you had your childhood, you had your academic chapter, and then how do we get from that to some of the amazing sculptures and art pieces you've made?
I think I always, when I was in college, I made these wacky little drawings.
Okay.
And I didn't know how to draw at all.
And this was just like when the teacher was boring kind of thing, or?
No, this was just me at home, just drawing and just making little funky drawings.
Okay.
These are the sculptures outside. Yeah, and
tell us about what we're seeing here.
This is called the greeter. There's a couple greeters there. This is at my home. This one's called Aztec Man. These are kind of, primitive looking or primal. I think I like the word primal better than primitive.
Me too.
And that's my sailboat.
So you do pretty much everything. You do art, you do sailing, you do writing, you do music. I mean, it's.
I think life is short. That's the wind spirit guy over there. Yeah, you gotta. I think I don't want to stay and watch TV. I like to.
I appreciate that about your house. In your main living room was not a television.
This one's called the fledgling angel. He's working on becoming an angel here. And
what a beautiful space.
Yeah, it's just on the back there is the Tres Pistoles trailhead. This one's called Mr. Wisdom. He's got 2 hearts. One's a backup, I'm saying, in case one breaks.
Yes.
And he's got his arms open to the sky, which I love that idea that you can be connected with the sky with your feet on the ground. This one's called the Egyptian Man. In fact, Theodore Roosevelt said, keep your eyes on the stars and your feet on the ground.
Yes.
I think that's a lovely sentiment.
Yes. And in addition to creating them, I imagine there's something as far as choosing the place for them. Is that something that is a big, as far as choosing where each of these pieces go, is just where there's room, or is it, no, I see this piece should be with this background? Or
initially they were out in a cool community called Three-Sided Hole, and that they really provided a lovely environment for them, but that does make a difference. I like to have, they look great with the sky behind them. This was a sculpture called The Vision of Chance for a woman who called herself Chance. She had a huge heart and a really lovely person. And this one here is one of my newer sculptures. This one's called The King of Fools. He has a crown, but he's not wearing it, and he's got a little scoopy thing on the side here that on one side that he's trying to scoop up something, but it's unclear what he's trying to scoop up. It's like we're all trying to grasp and get something in life, but we don't quite know what we're doing. But whatever he's trying to get, he's going to put in this bucket, and the bucket has holes in it. So it's kind of a metaphor for life. We try and try, but ultimately, I think, maybe it's not so much what we're getting, but how much heart we have is what makes a difference. We can get and get and get things, but just being and
maybe the excitement of the pursuing it, or of harvesting it, or learning it, and then that's the prize in itself, not what we have or don't have in the bucket at the end.
Right. Yeah, just the process, what we're doing, and what we're giving to others as we proceed through life. And if everyone was a little kinder, we'd all have a much kinder world.
It's true. Whatever we do is contagious, it seems like, and sets a ripple of patterns.
Right.
And so when the art you're creating and the process and your philosophy, did a lot of this come from your travels? From where did these philosophies come from? Because it's not nowadays. It's people. They want to try to get as nice big of a TV as you can and have as much money and a fancy car, and that's obviously not everyone, but it's a common thing people are after. And your philosophy is refreshingly different from that.
Yeah, well, I grew up in Massachusetts. I've developed a love for the West. I lived in Arizona and Colorado and New Mexico, Utah as well for 5 years. So I've
Beautiful places.
lived a lot of places. I've traveled to over 65 countries now. So a lot of, I've learned a lot from just meeting people and realizing that people have the same concerns no matter where you are in the world. Everyone has their families. Everyone wants to earn a buck. It's
Sure.
and people are people. If you're kind to people, they're kind to you.
Yeah.
So,
and it's a humbling thing to be away from home in out of your comfort zone. I imagine you have to kind of rely on kindness of strangers and all that.
Yeah, but if you give people the benefit of the doubt, everyone is kind. So, one of my books that's not shown here is an ebook on how to travel independently.
Okay, we'll definitely we'll put the link when we.
Right, but when you get out and meet people, and you can take a tour, but if you actually, one of the most rewarding things for me is just meeting the locals. Even if I spend 15 minutes talking with a local person, it makes my day. It's just very cool to meet people and hear what their stories are. You realize that it's, Americans often have this view of America. We're the best, and we are a wonderful country, but there are so many things that these other countries, just sometimes the smiles of people. I think we could learn some of these genuine smiles you see of people in the middle of India, for example, or wherever. But I grew up in the Boston area, and in a town called Lexington, not that far from Concord, where Henry David Thoreau, lived and had on Walden Pond. So nature has been part of, I'd say, a fundamental aspect of who I am and what inspires me, the lessons we can learn from nature. And
some of these themes come up in your books. So the one book you said that's an ebook is about traveling, and tell us a little bit about these other ones that we've got here.
Well, this book on finding balance has three parts of it. Its first part is just as an individual, how do we find balance as an individual? Things like listening to our internal voice, being accepting, or maybe thinking about obstacles as not necessarily obstacles, but as teachers, things that we can really learn from. So the first part is about just understanding ourselves as an individual. The second part is about relationships and some of the games people play with each other that aren't necessarily helpful. But ultimately the goal is to be able to have an open and honest and free and loving relationship where you can develop true intimacy. So that's the second part. And then the third part is kind of, each builds on the other. The third part is community. So if you want to have a community, people that care about each other, then people have to, understand themselves and understand their relationships. And then we can contribute to making this world,
I know you had mentioned that
a better place.
When you said community, I know you had mentioned that Burning Man was an influential time and place, and that's a very special community there. I wonder if you want to comment at all about what you got from that experience or how it connects to.
Yeah, Burning Man can be a very challenging environment.
Oh, yes.
I was there, guess you've been there. I was there 2006 and 2007, so it's quite a number of years ago, but there's a lot of interesting ideas floating around out there about radical acceptance, for example, accepting people as they are, and withholding our judgmental, and trying to be appreciative of the diversity of expression. Some of these people have so many interesting ideas that they're expressing and so much great art.
Yeah.
They have these art cars as you know, they move around this flat plain, which was a former lake bed. They call it the playa.
Yeah.
And you can they had one that was this dragon. It was 60 feet long.
I think I've seen that, the one that...
And it breathed fire and had a chill space in the middle of this dragon, you know.
And they're pumping some like techno music from it, I imagine.
Right, there was music and anyway, it was like, if you ever looked at a lizard, it has the scales on it, you know, with these tiny little scales, but in this case, the scales were big.
Yeah.
And a couple of them had fallen off. And so I asked some guy, you know, well, how are you going to reattach that metal onto the dragon?
Yeah.
And he showed me how to weld.
Oh, so that was the birth of your... Wow.
Right.
Wow. Just think if that day hadn't happened, that your life would be in a...
Right. So I came home and I bought myself this little Lincoln welder. Wow. And I'd got a couple pieces of metal. Back in the day, you could get more. There was more metal hanging around because the price was cheaper. Sure. But you could go to metal shops and get weird pieces of metal. And so I remember that first day taking 2 pieces of metal and putting it together.
You're like, whoa, this is pretty
all these
cool.
Sparks were flying. It was really scary. Wow. You know, you had to clear away every area so that it wasn't, the flammable stuff was not away. But that's how I learned I taught myself to weld that way.
Okay, and now your whole house is a space of creation. It seemed, you know, from the outside of your house where you you know, put these metal sculptures, and then inside your house where you do some of your other type of sculptures and paintings, and of course here we get a chance to see your house, and it's also there's music everywhere too. Just everything. I saw everything but a television, as I was saying. You know.
Well, there's a television,
but I mean not in the main. You know.
That's one of my metal sculptures there, and that's my Strat. I play kind of blues and rock guitar. This was one of my first paintings. I really didn't have any lessons, and I'm working on my painting. I feel like I'm a more accomplished sculptor than painter at this. But you know, it's a lot of times people want to become an artist, and they can get very frustrated very quickly, and they just expect that they're just going to show up, and if their first painting isn't great, or you know, they get frustrated. But you know, it just takes perseverance. You know, whether you're drawing or I learned to do stonework from a guy named Alvin Marshall, who's a Navajo sculptor who had a little trailer in some landscape connection yard. And then I later took a course where I did some clay work.
Incredible. This one it was one of my favorite of yours. This one here.
This one is called Open Mind.
Yeah, I love that.
And these ones are made of oil-based clay. They'll eventually be turned into bronzes. That's called the Trickster. This one's shooting a flower. He's a gangster of love.
Yes.
And some figures up here. And these two were actually based on drawings I did when I was a kid. That's stone mountain lion kind of thing. This one people say looks like a Warhol.
Yeah, I can see that.
A little bit.
So with all these different types of creating you do, how do you decide what you're going to do on a given day? You know, is it, today I'm going to work on music? Do you have a regimented schedule, or do you just kind of go with what you feel inspired that day? Yeah,
I don't always do art, or I don't always write. You know, it seems like there are phases where I'm doing a lot more writing.
Yeah.
Right now I'm doing a lot of guitar playing. I'm taking a course at Berkeley on blues guitar, an online course on blues guitar playing. So, but I am working on a second novel. So, but that's sort of waiting for me to get done with what I...
May we always have more exciting things to do than we have time for. What a gift. Right.
I think that's probably a good thing to do, to keep things lined up and you know, to keep active, and So, yeah, I don't know how I budget the time. I just, I got to have some exercise in between.
Sure.
Some of this is solo work. You're just there by yourself. You need company.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of balance how to live your life.
Yes.
Like the author Murakami, the Japanese author, very great, one of my favorite authors. He runs, and sometimes the exercising gives you a chance to think about your thoughts, and maybe you're writing and a novel. What is the character going to do next? How is this scene going to work? That sort of thing is, the exercising can be a way to. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you definitely have lived the idea that everyone in life is our teachers. From so many people you've told me about, you've learned this and that. I wonder if you could send us out with some either words of wisdom that you have collected on your own, or something that someone's shared with you that's been a helpful guide. Anything that you can leave our viewers and listeners with something to put in their pocket and maybe help their day.
Sure. Well, I think it's good to take a few risks in life, to avoid complacency. I think the process is kind of imagining something, and then really believing that you can do it. Even despite what, just believe, even if there's doubters, even if you have your own doubts, and then
so just go for it. Just try it.
Right. So I think it's like 3 steps. 1, 2, 3. Imagine, believe, and then action.
Okay.
That's it. And I think, that action has to be dedicated. That's the hardest step, is the action. Taking the action. But we can make the world a kinder place if we imagine it and believe it and take action. That's one of the themes in my novel, A Returning Wind. It's we don't need to wait for a Messiah to show up.
Yes.
We can be kind of like a group Messiah. Everyone can be here and imagining, believing, taking action to create a more compassionate world.
I think you said, I think that's a perfect way to close. Imagine, believe, action, and when we put our goodwill and good intentions, we can make a kinder place. And thank you.
And programs like this that are bringing the word and good vibes to people, I so appreciate.
Well, thank you, and thank you for being on the show and for sharing a little bit. And I look forward to continuing to learn more about the many things you do, my friend. So
likewise.
Thank you very much. All right. All the best. Seth. All right. Donny Tesso, it is a privilege and an honor to be sitting here talking to you. How are you doing today? How's your morning starting out?
Doing good. Waking up this morning and seeing the sort of the gloom, the rain. But it's where I grew up in Arizona. We didn't see that much.
Yes.
So it's kind of cool. I kind of like the foggy, rainy scenario, and had my first cup of coffee, and it was like. It's pretty cool. Looking forward to this.
Yes.
So doing good, man. Doing good. Thanks for having me.
Great. Well, I would just like to start off, maybe just hear your story, how you got into music.
How much time we got?
We got this, I think, about 4 hours we're set for.
Just gonna think about that.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh no, well that's a great question. I mean, I'm from Yuma, Arizona originally, and we're talking earlier. My dad was my first influence musically, because it was just always around.
So even before you could talk, you were.
I think so. I mean, from what my older brother tells me, but I was always drawn to bass at that age.
Yeah.
And even to this day, it was something about the low end.
Yeah.
Something what it was,
and feel
just feeling it, and my dad saw that, and he brought me a guitar. Wasn't a bass, but I took the string, two strings off the guitar, and started playing bass, to Beatles songs and Creedence Clearwater, that kind of stuff, So, but from then on, I'm basically self-taught. I mean, my dad's bass player came over, rest his soul, Bill Fulton, my first mentor, if you want to call it.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Bill. He showed me, A, B, C, D. Somehow I remembered it.
Yeah.
To this day, he showed me A, which is right there.
Yeah.
I remember, I was like 8 years old, in the kitchen. So they gave me a little harmony bass. Bill gave me a harmony bass, and that was my bass for about a year or so. And from then on, I got into school, and I got into the high school jazz band,
and this was self kind of motivated.
Yeah,
they didn't
it
say,
was all
Donny,
that.
did you practice today? It was just what you wanted to do.
You know what? That's a great question. My mom and dad were never like, you got to practice 3 hours a day. It was like, they let me be a kid, which was cool. And I'm the one that would always go pick up the bass, every day and do stuff and copy songs and just from there. And then
just by ear, you'd listen and feel it out. There was probably, you didn't go online back then and look up.
I couldn't go online back then, The only line we had was a clothesline, so, it was like literally picking up a record on the needle and go, let's play it again. Oh, bzz. How'd that go? Yeah, so I think that's where I did develop a pretty keen sense of hearing. Way back then. So Yuma, Arizona was my first 17 years of my life, and then I went on the road. I went on the road at 18, and I kind of been on the road ever since.
And so what was that like? So you're 18. So prior to that, did you play in little local groups at all?
I played with my dad's band, which is of all things, he was a Hispanic country singer.
Yeah.
And a fantastic musician himself.
Yeah.
And so he gave me my break, if you want to call it, into professional. I made $100 New Year's Eve, 1972.
Wow.
I made $100 back then.
Pretty good back
I still
then.
have
It's
some of
pretty
that.
good now, but I mean,
but I made $100, and I gave my mom 20, I think it was.
What a good boy.
Yeah, and I kept 80, so But I
and
mean,
this was not a traveling gig. This
no,
was your
it was
first
just
at-home
in
gig?
town.
Okay.
The Elks Lodge, the Moose Lodge, the Eagles, and the church benefits. And
do you recall what was on any of the things from the set list that night?
Some Ray Price country comes to mind. For the Good Times, my dad used to love to sing that song.
Yeah.
All the way to some polkas. Ding, 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 ding. We had to, because he was a Spanish guy.
Sure.
And so that comes to mind.
Okay. And then so you said you went on the road at 18?
I was 18. I got selected to go on the road with an organization called Up With People.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you ever heard that.
I have heard. It sounds familiar.
So then that was, you have to audition for that group when you're in high school. And fortunately, I must have aced my audition. And I was selected. I was given a full ride scholarship. And I was able to tour the world, although I didn't see the whole world.
Sure.
I just saw the United States, Canada, Mexico, South America.
Okay.
That was my tour. Playing music and living in people's houses. We never stayed in hotels, had 3 buses, or once in a while we'd fly somewhere. And
do you remember that trip pretty vividly, or parts of it? Do you remember what
parts
it was?
of it?
What are just some of the offstage, just part of the traveling, and just any little memories that come to
being
mind?
in what comes to mind. I'm gonna see if I can tell this with. Is that mature audiences? No.
Nobody said no, so that means yes.
Mexico City pops up to me, and seeing some of the sights, the pyramids, seeing people on their knees walking to the basilica, and I'm walking past, and these people are on their knees. I'm going, what's going on here? Things like that. I played in bull rings. I played in boxing auditoriums.
And were you ever nervous? Were you always a natural kind of performer? Did that ever?
You know what? That's a great question.
Thank you.
Nerves. I don't remember being nervous. I don't.
It just
ever
felt like this is what
remember
I
being-
do. This is what
and that's crazy. I've been nervous maybe once or twice, and I don't think we have enough time to talk about it. But nerves is funny. When you're confident with what you're doing, I think that eliminates some of the nervousness.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but there's been some situations where I should have been nervous, but I think I didn't have time to be nervous or didn't want to think about it.
Sure,
you know,
sure.
But you know, I'm lucky to not be one of those guys to, you know, be super nervous.
Yeah, yeah. So, so you went on this tour, and then what were some of your other after that experience?
It's easy.
Well, yeah, go on.
Well, you know, after I got my year with Up With People, I got back home and said, what am I going to do now? I had already had a scholarship to go to college, a music program, but it happened at the same time that I did the tour with Up With People.
Okay.
So I got thinking in my head, you know, 18 years old, thinking when I get back from my tour, I'm going to just go back to Arizona Western College and get my scholarship. Well, the year that I toured with Up With People, Mr. Olp retired, the jazz band. It was a great jazz band program.
Yeah.
He retired, so I tried to apply for my scholarship again. They says, well, who are you, huh? I'm the new guy. So make the long story short, I was not able to go back to college on a full ride scholarship.
Yeah.
So then me and my cousin, a couple of my buddies from high school said, hey, let's do something. We got some talent here. Let's the four of us hit the road, get a band together. And we did, man. Wow. We you know, back then you had to have a booking agent and pictures and all that kind of stuff, you know, and we did. And we did that I did it for 3 years or so.
So for 3 years you're just kind of touring around?
Yeah, you know, play 2 weeks somewhere, play 2 weeks here, play a week here, get fired over here, get hired over here, you know, Boise, Idaho, Canada, Gillette, Wyoming, Denver, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Grants, New Mexico. I mean, you know, it was cool. Yeah. I learned so much about myself and how to play this thing a little bit better and how to perform, singing, dancing. Yeah. You know, it was a show band. Yeah. So,
is there anything like advice you would give yourself back then in the early days? You're like, I had to learn this the hard way. I didn't know where now you'd say, okay. Oh, also tell us what we're seeing here actually.
That is Flaco Jimenez and the smile on his face. If you don't know who Flaco Jimenez is, he's a lifetime Grammy winner, and he's got Grammys for doorstops. The other picture was him smiling. He just liked working with me, and see, look at him, and there I am doing something crazy. That's in San Diego, I think, and I was the musical director.
Wow!
So I got to kind of boss him around too, and it was like really weird. And he's such a gracious individual, you know. So, God, you know, advice. The advice is get serious. If you're going to do music, get serious about it.
And what does that mean? When you say
study
get serious?
Study it, man. You know, if you're a guitar player, you're a bass player, get into your instrument. I think we should all learn how to read music. If you can't read music or it's too hard to do, at least try to understand it. Yeah. Understand why the chord of C and G works the same way. Sure. You know, things like that, because I think that's going to help you create, and even for your ears. You know, for me, I was always copying. I had to copy Paul McCartney. I had to copy James Jamerson. I had to copy, you know, Tower of Power. But at the same time, I was getting called to record. So now I'm the one that's actually, I'm the blueprint. Yeah. You know, so I had to come up with stuff for me to know, like, what key is this in? Yeah. What are the chord progressions? You know, okay, so, you know, I would either write it down or get a chart. Yeah. And I knew what I could do based on the music, you know? Okay. So, yeah, I think that if
so maybe back then earlier on learning some of those.
Yeah. I mean, in school when I took jazz band, I couldn't read a note. Still can't. And I was just lucky that Mr. Clayton, rest his soul, at Yuma High School Jazz Band, let me do my thing. He gave me the chart to A Train, and there was the chords, and I had to negotiate that with, you know, what I came to my ears, and then it was jazz, so I know it was a lot of, you know, quarter note and swing. You know, it's just, I wish I could say more about it, but if advice is, learn your instrument, learn how to read music if you can, and get serious. Be serious about it. And it was all I wanted to do.
Yeah.
You know, so here I am, 50 years later.
So getting solid and knowing your instrument intimately. And what about advice just about being in a band, the dynamics of being in a band, going on the road?
Well, okay, that is such a hard thing to do sometimes, because you're working with other personalities.
Yeah.
Their personalities and their quirks and the things that they do wrong or right, and you know, it's really tough. But being in a band, and for me, I lead bands a lot.
Yeah.
Is literally getting along.
Yeah.
Be a good guy. Try to be compassionate, but at the same time, if something's bugging you, you gotta air it out.
Yeah.
I've been in situations where I've just quit, and then I think about it later. Well, I guess I could have talked it out.
Sure.
But you know, there was other things that were why I would have quit something. I'm not really a quitter, but there's been a couple times where I had to get away.
Yeah, yeah.
I just
It's
knew
not a
that something was going to
healthy
happen.
situation or something, yeah.
We were going to have a fight on stage or something.
Yeah.
One of us has to go.
Yeah.
But you know, I think the advice to be in a band is getting along.
Yeah.
And doing your part.
Mm-hmm.
Don't come unprepared.
Yeah.
Be prepared. That way, when you guys learn your song, you learn it at practice and you perform it on stage, not practice it on stage.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
yeah.
so yeah.
So you have been all over, you played all over, and New Mexico's been your home for a while.
35 years, 36 years.
And so I think we definitely should mention the honor that you've received, the New Mexico Hall of Fame.
Yeah, the New Mexico Music Hall of Fame. I'll be inducted this month, November 23rd.
So just, I mean, first off, congratulations.
Thank you, man.
Second
Thank
of
you.
all, well-deserved. And I can't imagine how that, must feel when it's something that you've poured your heart and soul into. You didn't go looking for these accolades, but
no,
you've been recognized.
It's kind of embarrassing. I've talked to some of my buddies, and it's
May this be the most embarrassing thing that happens to you. Yeah.
But I think because I'm kind of humble, and I feel like there's other people more deserving.
Sure.
But if I'm being recognized by my peers, it does make me feel good that somebody thinks something of me. I've been here long enough to make a mark, and I guess I have, and it just happened. I didn't start this in 1988 when I moved here, 27 years old. Yeah. And there's so many people to thank for allowing me to do what I've done all these years, especially since moving here, and then to be inducted or about to be inducted into such a prestigious thing. It's quite amazing. I don't know what else to say, but I'm humbled, but I'm also proud. Yeah, you know. So.
And I imagine your family, your family is also involved in music.
I think
what's that like for them? Having you as a husband, a father, and all that you bring.
That's a crazy situation. It's like I work with my daughters a lot, and I'm dad. I'm just dad. I think they're used to me, and then when people say, "Is that your dad?" Well, he's Donny Tesso, and I think they're like, "You don't know him though." yeah, he is Donny Tesso, but he's also my dad. Yeah. So it's. Obviously, they love what I do and respect. My wife is just like shaking her head, like Debbie's like, again, you're doing this again, but she knows, and I know she loves that I love what I do. Yeah. And she's been such a backbone. For what I do, and without my family, I think I wouldn't be here. Yeah. Having the support and. It's crucial. Yeah, I
mean, you've kind of, I don't use the term I like to say, oh, you've got it all. But when you think of the things in life that we hope for, we hope to, have people in life that we love, family. We hope to get to do what we love. Even bonus if we can be recognized for it. But it's kind of cool what you do because you get to play with everyone, but you're still like a humble guy. You can go around town. It's not like you kind of get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, right? I mean, I was thinking as you're talking there, I was in Colorado a couple weeks ago playing with Al Hurricane Jr., the icon that he is, and he asked me to play for him. and going out in the audience, and I was gonna go get a drink or something, and people say, hey, that's Donny Tesso, and then they want to take pictures with me, and I'm kind of going, I'm not even from here, and they knew who I was. It's just really kind of crazy. Maybe I'm recognizable. I don't know what it is, but it's I go to a store and said, hey, that's the guy who used to play with Al Hurricane. It's kind of humbling and some kind of embarrassing, So how come they know me? I wish I remembered your name. They know my name, but I don't know their name sometimes. But yeah.
Well, it's kind of cool because I'm sure have no idea how many people have seen you and heard you and enjoyed what you do, and it's nice to be recognized. And I think you come with the talent that you do, but anyone who knows you are just an everyday friendly guy.
I try to be that guy. I'm
but not everybody has their own signature bass, though. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about this and maybe even give us a sample of what.
Yeah, I would love to. Pat Wilkins out of Van Nuys, California, who is a fantastic builder. He's built basses, guitars for the Stars. Peter Cetera with Chicago, the bass player. I share an endorsement with him, but for Pat to take me, 12 years ago and say, hey, Donny, will you help me with my company, Wilkins Custom Guitars? And in the meantime, I'll build you a bass of your dreams, if you want to call it. And it'll be your signature model. If somebody wants to buy a Donny Tesso model, they can through Pat Wilkins.
Sure.
So, once I saw this thing, UPS guy comes in 12 years ago and to my house, and I open it up and I see the name on the end, and I go like, what's wrong here? How can this be? And I had Pat build this bass patterned after my Fender bass that my dad got for me when I was in high school. And I still have it, but it's really heavy. And it's worth something. I don't want to take it out somewhere.
Sure.
And he built me this, and it's so much like my original '75 Fender Jazz bass that I'm so happy. And there it is. I don't know if anybody can see it.
Let's get a better look at it.
It's a beautiful piece of wood. I can go into the craziness of it, but it's got a lot of great hardware and fancy wood. It's lightweight and it sounds great and.
One of those instruments that doesn't want to be put down.
Yeah. When I play it, I go like, how come I don't play this more? But it's got its role. So yeah.
Well, can we hear a little bit about?
Yeah. I mean, can you hear me?
So give us an example. Say, for example, you go to a music store. Let me try out this bass. Like, what is
everybody's going like, you gotta use. I mean, but I never felt like I was one of those guys to be able to really be fancy. To me, I like being meat and potatoes.
I mean, as we figured the role of the bass player, that's the best way you can to contribute to the band.
Yeah, but to be able to do some fancy stuff, I guess that's everybody's their own individual. Like with talking to Gordon today, his artwork is unlike anybody else's. And I kind of see myself as that too. I want to have my own sound. I want to say, hey, they hear something on the radio or something, that was Donny that played that. I kind of want to make my mark, but not be too noticeable.
Sure. That's a perfect balance there.
Yeah.
And so you've done so much. Are there some things in our last couple of minutes, some things that you're like, I'd love to play here. I'd love to play with this person, or
that's an open-ended question. Being that Quincy Jones passed away yesterday.
What a legend.
That's kind of like you think about that and go like, man, I would like to work with him one day. Knowing people some of my friends that have worked with him. Nathan East. I just never got that chance. But there's my favorite band is Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Yeah.
And to be able to like take Verdine White's place one time,
Yeah.
He has the flu,
Yeah.
and he can't
can help
perform
out.
at the
Sure,
Greek Theater.
sure.
Say, hey man, Donnie, can you play tonight? I mean, that would be probably the dream.
Okay.
The dream gig. But I mean, I'm also a jazz guy, and I've got a chance to play with some of my heroes in the past, and that's been a great thing. Kim Waters, Jeff Kashiwa, Peter White. I mean, there's these. If you don't know their names, you should. It's Billboard hits, #1 hits and things like that. Cindy Bradley. I've been able to work with some of the people that I have CDs from.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing. I have CDs, and now I'm playing for him.
Incredible.
And there's pressure with that too.
Sure.
Because they're up there, and you got to perform, man. So. But I definitely, there's some things that I still want to do. I want to finish my album. I'm still working on it. So there's still a lot of stuff left in the fire.
May you never run out of things that you are excited to do. And what a gift you've had a gifted life, and you've been a gift to many people. And it's a special thing. It's you always say there's a little bit of luck, but it came with a lot of hard work. And anyone who knows you and has just hung out with you, you're a pleasure to just talk with. A lot of people, ego gets involved, but just to stay balanced through all that.
Yeah, I believe in being a humble guy. Well, who wants to talk to somebody that's stuck up?
Yeah.
I don't want to be that guy. Why should I?
Yeah.
No, I want to help. If I can help somebody in their career, I teach privately, and if I can help my students get somewhere, I'm proud. I'm proud when I see a video and go, wow, you sounded good, man. Or I watched one of my 12-year-old students at his school perform, and my chest is big anyway, man. My chest was out here, man, because he did so well, and I feel partly responsible.
Well, Donnie, you're a blessing, and it's a pleasure to have you on the show, just to hear a bit about your story. And congratulations.
Thank you.
And all the best to you and your family, and just bless you.
Thank you,
Thanks
Seth.
for all you do.
And the gang, thank you guys, man, for having me. I'm looking forward to doing some stuff in the future.
All right, hope to have you back.
All right.
All the best to everyone out there.